Good morning, Frank. My name is David Travis. For this presentation for AMB303 International Logistics, I've chosen how might regulatory and political conditions act as barriers to supply chain management. I want to address the supply chain management to understand exactly what that is. Supply chain management is the oversight of materials, information, and finances as they move in a process from supplier to manufacturer, to the wholesaler, and then to the retailer, and ultimately the consumer. I found a simpler version of supply chain management, and I think it's very apt. Every product that reaches an end user represents the cumulative effort of multiple organizations. These organizations are referred to collectively as the supply chain. And when you think about that, whatever we purchase, whatever we do, is in some way being a process in getting to us, whether that be a service or a hard product. So the supply chain management encompasses these. Further insight provided me with a classification of some supply chain models. And the one that I really liked and felt resonates with my presentation is the process classification framework model. Now, this particular model has 12 processes divided into two areas, the operating process and the managing process. Now, I would like to link this presentation to a real-world client, and this client has a client who manufactures engines for helicopters and small aircraft. The 12-step model that I mentioned in the process classification framework, the first 4 steps in the operating process are develop vision and strategy, develop and manage products and services, market and sell products and services, and deliver products and services. It's these 4 here that capsulate where the impact of political and regulatory barriers can impede their supply chain. Ultimately, they want every person who manufactures a helicopter to use their engine. They want every helicopter then to be sold with their engine, which then entails exactly what they've been able to do. The vision and the strategy of this engine, the development and managing the products and services, and selling the product to manufacturers who then use it. All of those steps are impacted by regulatory, which is in-house for the company itself, or in a wider scope, looking at the ability to operate within that industry and be self-regulated within that industry, and the political barriers. The big political barriers might be tax breaks that they may get. The other political barriers will impact them is the stability of the government, the stability of the governments and where their products are sold, and whether they're going to allow extra tariffs on importation of engines like that, whether these other countries can look at their own manufacturing and whether they can produce an engine, in which case they might want to invest into the local manufacturers to compete against this international company coming in. So how does this company do that? Well, they can either look at licensing. They want to hold the intellectual property of the item. They want to be able to create a demand but also maintain their own knowledge, their own research and development of that. So they will look at licensing. They will look at establishing either their own standalone within another country, or they will look at having a license with somebody else. These guidelines is what this engine company has done, and no more than something I experienced when I was working within the industry, that there were ways to get around that, but effectively what they tried to do is shore up the supply chain for themselves, who they manufactured if they didn't manufacture it themselves, who supplied it to them so that they could supply the end product. I guess what I've learned is that both the regulatory and political make a difference to supply chain. They will either make it more attractive, more streamlined, or they will diminish what it can actually be. It really has been something that allows me to greater understand that when I buy or when I use, where that's coming from and the processes that have been involved and how that best impacts me, but if I was the organization, how that best impacts the organization and working with that. Thank you for your time.